Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Dice Scum Live. Name's Adam, and I'm currently by myself actually for this one. And, well, let's just say I'm a little more coherent and a lot less deranged. Something about multiversal theory just seems to cause madness. I don't know. It might be some weird eldritch response to the nightmare. Or maybe it's just because I got sick and tired of it after every goddamn TV show by corporations kept trying to push it because it's a way to just rehash the same shit over and over in a slightly different way. Because fuck originality, it's dead. Has been for, I think, ever since humanity has walked beyond fire. Speaking of which, I'm being a bit harsh. I'm being a bit harsh. But speaking of which, say hello to a book that was recommended a little bit ago, actually. And I was curious, so I decided to take a look. Say hello to the first edition of the Mouse Guard role-playing game, which it this is the first edition. This cover is not what drew me in. It's actually the other art I found for, I think it was the comics, because I did a little bit of research, just a bit into the setting, and unironically, it kind of has that it kind of has that Redwall vibe. I've never personally read Redwall, so I don't really know enough to say much beyond that. But from the summary of Redwall that I know, kind of has that vibe. Also, kind of reminds me of the Rats of Nim, which I have at least seen the movie, if not read the books. And it's actually really good art. So let's kind of continue in on this. Uh, well, from this particular cover, they show a bunch of characters, and I think they're actually based on the comics. Yep, this is Mouse Guard 1E. They made a second edition, which I don't have a copy of. But just little touches like this, you can kind of tell that the artist for this, and he actually collaborated on this with the guy who made it. I think what was his name? Peterson. Peterson's a pretty darn good artist. I really do like the way it looks. There's a reason I just took a good still from one of the comic panels for the thumbnail. It looks really good. His line work's impressive. He knows how to kind of do a digital take on watercolors almost. It just has that it has that style you don't see too often nowadays. And the credit is due. Yep, David Peterson. Forgot his first name. The guy who actually did this was Luke Crane, who was working with them. And that's the name of the company, by Burning Wheel. By the way, you can get a copy of the newer Mouse Guard in the description link. I made a point to make sure that you can get access to it from its store directly. And it starts with a forward, which it's a little bit on why he made the comics, if you're wondering. In short, Peterson made the comics because he liked mice. First of all, he just thought mice were pretty cool. But also, he kind of was inspired by, I think, stuff like Rats of Nim and other stuff where it's like high fantasy with animals. He wanted to, unironically, in his own words, recreate kind of that high adventure spirit of D&D. And from what I understand of the Mouse Guard universe, it actually kind of works similar to the Pathfinder Society. At least that's what the Mouse Guard kind of evolve into. And oh, literally right here. It revolves on this. Death is as powerful a weapon as it is an easy escape. Heroes can pass into legends, legends into myths. Myths fuel new heroes. The last recorded words of the Black Axe, which was the legendary champion of the Mouse Guard. So, welcome to the Mouse Guard role-playing game. Yeah, you'll basically play as a member of the Mouse Guard, struggling against, well, a lot of things. There's a lot of things that eat mice, ranging from the mundane like snakes to the horrific like a peregrine falcon. No, seriously, peregrine falcons are fucking scary. Their stoop dives, sometimes on a good day, they actually kind of make micro sound barrier breaks. That's how fast they dive. But this is a multiplayer game. You're going to need. It's similar to D&D in this regard. You need at least 2 to 6 people. That's kind of play tested for that. And here's some stuff. It's just basics on how role playing works. I do like that he actually does little art pieces here. See that? That's a good old Dave Peterson art right there, just showing how you would play mouse guard with his own characters. Oh, that's really cute. By the way, this game does have its own original dice and its own original figures, which you can also get there. Oh yeah, snakes are like mini dragons. I'm not surprised, Dark Sun. I mean, to give you an idea, even something as simple as a black racer or a white racer, they're like 5 feet long, which is pretty big for a snake, but for a mouse, it's fucking terrifying. Like you're the size of a mouse, so something like a house cat is like the Tarrasque. Like unironically. They also mentioned up front that when you start a game, not even the DM really fully knows how the story is going to end, and that is true. That's something so many people kind of forget is that what you originally start out as isn't necessarily the direction it's gonna go. I can actually think of a couple of examples like that because and both of them actually involve campaigns that Randall ran back in the day. One of them we completely fucking derailed, which makes a very fun story time actually. I might we might do another story time episode just talking about how we completely derailed the session in the first one. As for taking turns, well, yeah, it's basic stuff that you need to know how to do in RPG. And they actually show you how the system works. It is a 6 dice system, and you tend to roll 3 to 6. The number of dice is based on how skilled your character are. Your character is, I should say. And as for the results, every die is counted as its own result. It's either a yes or a no. A yes is a success. The more success is better. Any no result is a traitor to your cause and doesn't count. We call those dice cowards. Tell us all my animal lore. Animal lore. Did you know rats can't vomit? Fun fact, rats are mechanically incapable of vomiting. That's why poison is so effective against them. I know that fact. Uh, Other fun fact. There are the colors of your blood determines what oxidation agent you use to carry it. Like our blood is reddish because well we have iron. While what is it? Horseshoe crabs have blue blood because they actually have they use copper oxides instead. And as for how the dice system in here works, well, 4, 5s, and 6 are good. 1, 2, and 3 are bad. As for basically, yeah, successes are 3, 4s, and 5s. Anything under, nope, not good. And sometimes you'll see a number called 2S. That means you need 2 successes. Or it's just how you translate it, I think, in the story. There's also what's called margin of success. Margin of success is the game term that means count each extra success over what you needed and use it. If you needed 3 success but rolled 5, you have a margin of success by 2. Dice cowards are, in other words, dice scum. Not bad, Ipset, not bad. Bats frequently gather in multi-species colonies. Oh yeah, yeah. Unsurprisingly, we're more closely related to starfish and sea cucumbers than octopi. Huh. I actually didn't know that one. I did not know that one. I do know another fun fact. Did you know that one of the funniest things you can do is put a European rabbit with an American East cottontail? If you're wondering why, it's because cottontails are solitary, while European rabbits actually work in families. So, yeah, American rabbits will kick the living shit out of European rabbits because they think that they're encroaching on their territory. It's kind of a behavioral thing. Let's see the terms. I use the term guard mouse in the rules text as the generic term for any mouse in the guard. It does not refer to ranks. Okay, it's just specifying what the terms they use when it comes to examples. And it's based heavily on the comics. Oh, they're talking about how this relates to canon. This is actually important if you read the Mouse Guard comics. Let's see, do they actually explain? Ah, here we go. This is a good point. Once your game has started, it is yours. It does not have to follow the story of the comics. You can use characters and events however you wish, as long as you keep to the mood. Which that is very important, and this is something that if you're going to run any story based on an IP, this is a thing you got to think about. Birds are immune to pepper spray. They are because they evolved ways to basically ignore capsaicin. Eagles are a growing cause of death for goats in North America. I'm actually not surprised because golden eagles are actually native to the Americas, and golden eagles are large enough to carry off fucking deer. At least when they get big enough. They're not great at carrying them, but they can carry deer. Not full grown, but like yearlings, I think they're called. As for the mouse guard, their big thing was that their big thing is that they started out as a big defensive thing to defend mice kind against predators. Because not too long ago, they lived in horrible conditions, basically where they could find places to hide, and they were scattered and terrified. Eventually, some of them decided to fight back. They decided to make a citadel, which is actually a miniature castle for mice. And, well, they slowly slaughtered / defended their way across the wilds until these little mice communities at least can start talking to each other. And after that point, there's a big debate over what the hell to do then, because they could continue prosecuting this war against predators. Just because I did a little bit of initial research, they actually, in the comics, only a few years prior, fought a weasel warlord or something. Basically, this is like 3 years after a big fucking war. So they're kind of in the mood to try to go back to peace, but there's those that are prosecuting to continue going further. And, well, this also leads to tensions because at this point the guard kind of shift their stance to go from fighting warriors to more pathfinders. They're the ones that find new routes. They're the ones that guard caravans. They're the ones that go exploring for new things. And it's and it's a very dangerous world. And by the way, this is what Lockhaven looks like. Which it's a nice little castle hidden in, I think it's supposed to be a hollow. A local golden eagle local golden eagle has a habit of stealing dogs, and not little. Yeah, golden eagles are big enough to carry dogs. So, unironically, if you let your dogs outside in range in like a pen, if you have a large bird of prey in your area, try to be careful. You don't have to worry so much with like bald eagles though. Bald eagles tend to only eat fish, so you don't have to worry about that. But as for how the mouse guard structure works, basically there's a matriarch. They determine the guard postings, what duties they're to do, and what areas of the territories which are noted by scent, if I recall correctly. Just from, like I said, I spent about 20 minutes doing a little bit of a deep dive just to get myself a bit familiar, and that's kind of their thing. Guard the territory, watch over people, do a little exploration on the side. Mouse guard kind of also serve as peace givers and lawgivers as well, but that's dependent on towns because not everyone likes the guard. Sometimes they think they're too pushy. Sometimes they just don't like the leader. Sometimes they have their own ideas. In fact, I'm not going to spoil anything from the comics too hard, but that is a big issue in the comics, especially for the first volume. They go a little more into Lockhaven, and here's a nice little overview of how it kind of looks. And here it is in the winter, because, well, in the setting, winters are very harsh. Oh my word, look at chat just spamming animal facts. This is neat. But as for what Lockhaven does, it serves as a watch hub. It's also the food hub. Basically, they store food for long winters because this is medieval fantasy times, and in medieval era periods, winters are hard. Like, to give you an idea, we are so removed from what even life was like 100 years ago. People forget how awful fucking winter can be. Like, here I am sitting in my electrified room, with actual heating systems that are driven by an electrical power grid that is, fuck, I think, what 70 years old, 70, maybe 80 years old, depends on when that power plant was built. The me of 1923, that's nothing. I'd have to deal with wood fires and shit. And yeah, that is something I have to point out. The design of this book is simple, but it's well done. It kind of has that age feel. It also showed the duties right here for those who are curious. And but like, look, you get this beautiful little strings of art that kind of give you the vibe, the tone, the feeling. And it has that kind of classical feeling because it's pretty clear that David Peterson does like to at least take the watercolor element when it comes to art based on just how you see how he handles shading. I actually did not know penguins had a gland above their eyes that converted seawater to freshwater. That's really neat. That's some alchemy style shit. I will say, did you know that there are no octopi or squid that are freshwater inhabited? It's how their pump systems work. They legitimately need salt water. They can't survive without it. It's just how their pumps evolved. Doesn't seem like they can actually evolve it to be anything different. There's also at least multiple times where blinking was evolved in different ways. Not convergent evolution. Let's see. Let's continue on. So, one of the big things that you're going to do is you form patrols, which you're given duties and tasks. This is your party team. And they give examples of some of the guard mice. Here's Sadie right here. Uh, Gives you details on how their character would look, how they're statted, some beliefs, goals, instincts. This is like a very quick pre-gen character system, and I kind of like that they do it this way, like really early on, because it kind of gives you how simple the sheets are. Yeah, I know that mudskippers blink by sucking their eyes into their head. And we're going to review all elements of a mouse guard character point by point, which includes the name, age, fur color, home, parents, blah, 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 blah. And this is actually the full mouse guard character sheet and how it looks. It's shrunk, it's a little tiny, it's a little itty bitty, but you get a clear idea on how the hell this works. It's pretty simple. You just kind of stitch it together here. You put your abilities here, and then you get a little bit of stuff here. So let's go by bit by bit. Name, obvious. Age. So we're kind of ignoring the whole mice only living for like a couple years sort of thing. We're just interpreting it like from mice to human years. It's fine. So there's a term they have for ones who just enter the guard. They're called tender paws, and then there's what's called old furs, which are basically if you're like in your 50s equivalent for mice. As for the fur colors, there's 5 types that are common: brown, blonde, gray, black, and red, and they give you some details about that. Where their home is from, each city has its own different vibe, its own different feeling. And this is where you can kind of let your imagination spiral. And you can use Peterson's inspirations because, like I said, I've seen his comics. Like here's a beautiful example of just this little staircase. Just you see the nice sun effect. Uh, you see the nice leaves kind of encroaching on it. It feels aged. It feels lived in. People are just kind of going and moving. It's just so well done. Like you just see all these little photos that just give you vibe, not photos, these pictures that just give you the vibes of how this kind of feels. And you just kind of keep in mind this is supposed to be of a high medieval age period almost. We're talking middle 12th century. We're talking when the great Baroque works of, or the great Baroque, not Baroque. Baroque is 400 years. Romanesque. Apologies. Romanesque. Oh man, my art history knowledge is failing me. But yeah, it just goes into details about stuff like that. There's your the senior artisan is actually what happens is you have a mentor. This is your mentor figure. This is also the person that teaches you your trade skills. So this will usually give you some information about how your skills would stat out. And as for during play, a guardmouse, a senior artisan, provides them with aid whenever they are able to. They can also provide them supply and also give them information and details. You also have friends and allies. These are people that you kind of interact with and they're very friendly and they're the ones that can help you. Enemies and rivals are those who will try to fuck you. And it also tells you there's a bunch of guard ranks. There's Tender Paw, which is your rookie. Guard Mouse is standard. Patrol Guard is, well, you're higher ranked. Patrol Leader is the leader of the group, and Guard Captain. As for your cloak colors, that actually has a meaning. Your mentor always chooses the color of their graduating apprentice. And, oh, do they actually explain that? Do they actually explain what the colors mean? Maybe later. As for the belief, that's what you believe in. Yeah, that's something that you make a good point there, Squirrel Killer. You don't see art like this that often in smaller projects like this because let's be fair, this is a small Kickstarter backed thing that was the interest of the comics artist mainly because David Peterson actually was a very big fan of Dungeons and Dragons. And you can kind of tell, you can really kind of tell just in the vibe and in the energy. As for instinct, that's kind of what your gut reaction traditionally is. Let's see. Yeah, resources determine what material resources you can kind of pull out. Resource ratings, it's similar to how the World of Darkness handles them. No, I didn't know that the color meant something either. I don't know what the colors mean, but maybe that's kind of the point. You can attribute it based on what you have. As for how skills work, instead of knowledge checks, they're called wises. So, are you Lockhaven wise? Do you know how weasels work? How about rain? Are you a good weatherman? Weather mouse, I should say. And as for the numbers and ratings, this is how it works. 1 is terrible. 2 means you just are barely competent, don't trust you, but you can do it. 3 means that you're at least good enough to do it reliably. 4 means you're good. 5 means you're really good. And 6 makes you a master of the skill. As for traits, they're kind of quirks and things that you just tend to have. As for your gear, guard mice are self-sufficient, so they're pretty good at scrounging and finding things. They don't really need a lot of gear, but sometimes you need items just to kind of help you along. And as for weapons of choice, remember, you're a mouse. Something as simple as a house cat or stoat will destroy you. And you're going to need weaponry to just kind of protect yourself out there. And that's not saying that mice on mice violence doesn't exist. That like legitimately, some towns legitimately hate the guards, so you might actually have to fight for your life. And there's also the kind of system of honor thing going along, so if someone insults you, you need to be able to fight back. Duels to the death are a thing. Also, keep in mind that you only carry so much. You're a mouse. Like, you can't carry a lot. You're a little mouse. The conditions on where you're going are pretty concerning. Oh, I think this is a panel from the comics since I got spoiled on at least part of the first volume. Yeah, something horrible happened, and you can kind of tell just like from that little zoom on this crying face. Oh, these things. Oh, this system has fate points. That's interesting. So if you're wondering, yeah, fate points. Basically, if you choose to spend it, you can count the number of 60 rolls picked up a new dice for each 6, and you can add successes. As for persona, this represents your inner strength that you've built up. Persona points are spent whenever you roll. You can either add an extra die, or you can spend up to 3 to add bonus die. Oh, and here's the other 3 members of Sadie's patrol. These are actually, I know these are based on the books because I've seen these names. Yeah, that's what I really like about this book is you can definitely tell that the person who made this knew what the hell they were doing. And what probably helped is that the he was working closely with the artist, and they probably worked on this together really closely, and they made it simple and pretty darn easy to understand. I can easily see why this thing destroyed its Kickstarter goal. And here's more of the characters, just giving you some details on what they do. So that's this one's Kenzie. This is Saxon right here. They give you the cloak colors. Here's Liam right here. And seriously, don't you also like how they kind of make the weapons fit each of the mice? Like, if you have a quarterstaff, it's a stick. If you have a sword, it's almost like a little needle. It kind of actually reminds me. This is well over a decade before, but it kind of has Hollow Knight energy. Can't you kind of feel that Hollow Knight energy? Well, yeah, you can definitely tell this was made with love. To give you an idea, the guy who created this Dark Sun was a big fan of the Mouse Guard books, and I bet he was really pleased when he got to work with the artist, the actual guy who made him, to make this. It matters what you fight, but it matters not what you fight, but what you fight for. See, that's the thing. It's not it's not that you fight, it's what you're fighting for. What's your beliefs? What is what you do? And as they mention, heroes fall, heroes break, heroes and bleed. They shed bitter tears, pull themselves up, not to concede. Often they're waylaid, and often they mourn. Heroes are rarely made, and even more seldom born. It's not till after they die do mice sing of their fate, a job, a duty, a thankless obligation not to fail. Still, many a mouse thinks not only a name is required. What becomes of them? They either quit or expire. So, yeah, this shit is pretty damn dangerous. And you need to have beliefs in order to keep going out there. Because it's not, you're not doing this for the page. You're not going out there to fight a fucking snake just because of money. Oh, that's a neat point that I wouldn't have known at all, Squirrel. Yeah, I didn't know that this thing was actually designed to be dyslexic friendly. That's actually really cool. That's actually really cool. And also, you get to write what your character's beliefs are. And to give you a couple examples, Liam's is a guard mouse never gives up no matter what. Saxon's is the best solution is always found at the point of the sword. And Kenzie's is it's not what you fight, it's what you fight for. And as for how you play beliefs, it acts as a reminder to you as well. It's a guide for how your character interacts. Rather than writing a big ass backstory, what your character is condensed into this one sentence. And this is what you have to do. And as for how beliefs work, you can either continue to fulfill the belief, you can actually change your belief if you, say, experience a crisis. You can also challenge beliefs. So in this case, you challenge their beliefs throughout the course of play. That's how you have your characters grow, evolve, change, or just die. Because let's be fair, odds are pretty high. At least at some point in the adventures, one of you are going to be eaten alive by like a fucking weasel or crab or anything that eats flesh. The great owl warlord of the North Boreal Tree will fucking destroy you in the night. One minute you're just outranging, and the next minute all that's left of you is your sword and boots. And each character also has a goal. The goal has to be appropriate to your missions and also as to your duties. It's something you could reasonably be able to accomplish. It doesn't have to be something that's guaranteed. It's just you have to make sure that it's at least sort of achievable. As for what goals mean, basically it helps your DM figure out what the fuck to do. And a goal's accomplished when what happens happens. You get one goal per session. If your goal is not accomplished, you should change it at the start of your next. You rewrite it to make sure you can accomplish it. Do not sit on an unaccomplishable goal. because you get rewarded if you do. The thing is, though, goals are not something easy. If you set a goal as a GM, make them fucking fight for it. You gotta make them fight for it because otherwise, what's the point? And after that, after you accomplish a goal, you have to have new ones. Oh, and as for instinct, it's what your gut reaction would be. It's like flight or fight. And you can eventually get new instincts, but it's not something you normally do. As for rewards, you earn rewards for the way you play your character. Rewards are accumulated in points. This is how you do experience. You're not given experience points for just being there. This is how you do it. These points are used to modify dice rolls, and there's two types: fate points and persona points. Rewards are at the end of a session when the play has ended, so around the table. Each player in turns read their belief, goal, and instinct, and if the group agrees that the criteria below are met, the reward is earned. And there's 3 ways to earn fate points. You can earn up to 3 in one session. You have to act on your belief. You have to be consistent with what your character would do. You have to actually work towards your goal. If your characters actually worked towards it, even if they didn't accomplish it, you still earn the fate point. Yeah, that bit here, just that Saxon just standing there defiantly after getting injured. Hell yeah. I also really like this one of old Black Axe standing above the skulls of slain foes. He has a pipe. He has a little mouse pipe too, which really helps. Also, you like how his shoulder armor is like a seed? I like the little touches that are put in every now and again. Also, you can tell that one is in the now and one is in legend because of the change in color tones. This one's a lot more faded. This is a legendary memory of the heroic Black Axe. That is not a modern photo. Oh, and last but not least, if you play on an instinct, you get a fate point. You can only get one per session, though. As for personas, there's 5 ways. You accomplish a goal, you play against your belief. You have to actually try, though. Like, you can't just immediately 180. You have to actually try. And also, you get one just for most valuable player. Workhorse means if you carry the group through, unless if you're the embodiment of your character through the whole thing, you get one. So, what's the mission? So, winter skies are dark and drear. Once Greenland is pale and severe, supplies are short and night is long. Time still stands in its bitter song. Withered life sits frozen on the vine. Is this the end of days of yours or mine? For yours or mine? 'Tis but a season, such things turn. Lack of preparation is cold lesson to learn. By the way, these are quotes from the actual comic, I think, and it's really neat to see that there's a sort of poeticness to it. This is something you kind of see lost in modern fantasy. Like you kind of go back to the old. It's almost like you're going back to the old Eddas or the old English poems. It's really nice. It's going back to that kind of root, the same root that brings back Tolkien. So let's see, the gathering. This is basically. Oh yeah, this is basically how do you run a game. So you get players, you form a patrol, and here's how you do your first session. You can do the following. You can pick characters from the selection of samples if they're not familiar, or you can make your own. If you've never really played RPGs before, go for the first. If not, go for the other. You can also tweak them. Uh, you can also continue games. And as for GM notes, for this is for GMs. Once everyone's chosen a template or completed their characters, you have to note their beliefs, instincts, and relationships on their mission sheet. This allows you to remember and kind of understand how they would interact and gel with certain people. Because let's be fair, your mentors, the artisan that helps you, your folks, all of them are people that work with or against you. Same with rivals and friends. Wordsmiths are rare these days. It's sad. Well, yeah, because you can just fail upward. It's fine. Look, they're playing mouse guard right here. Although I like the idea that like what happens is this guy like this mouse is walking in, sees this other mouse playing the game by himself, and is like, wait, what? What the fuck? What the fuck? Prologues. Prologue is something one player delivers at the start of each continuing session. If this is your first session, you can skip this. This is basically when last time we met up, you accidentally burned down the tavern because one of you decided to play a chaotic evil gremlin gnome rogue, and half of you are wanted by the police of this kingdom known as Erdogan. The kingdom of Erdogan has put a bounty of 50 gold on your head, which is a princely sum in the region, given that this was a small village. Anyway, once the prologue's been delivered, you then assign the mission. It's either continuing the mission you're doing, or it's you came back and it's a new mission. On top of that, seasons do matter because weather is really important. Mainly because, again, you're a mouse. Let's be fair. A bad rainstorm is bad for people. For mice, it's death. It is death because you could get flooded. Whew. I also like how they remind you what most mice guard do. I kind of like that they keep reminding you just so that you know. Make sure that you keep following what mice guard are supposed to be. They also give you that the first mission should come directly from Gwendolyn, who is who is the chieftainess of the Mouse Guard. She's the one that directly assigns you missions, particularly the patrol leader. As for further missions, they kind of just pop up from there. It might be merchants asking for help. It could be just you go to the village and their burgermeister is from health. Monsoon must be a biblical flood for the mice. Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah! Also, winter is basically death. But I mean, to give you an idea, winter was basically death for humans if they didn't have enough food either. Hmm. By the way, if you're struggling to come up with missions, it is totally fine to bullshit a new one coming from Lockhaven. So that might be a thing that you do just in case. As for who leads the missions, there's a ranking system in the Mouse Guard. And that is a thing, but because you're basically Pathfinders, leadership's pretty flexible. Senior Guard Mice might be the official leader of the patrol, but 9 times out of 10 they actually listen to the rest of the party. The thing is, though, once the leader has made their opinion known and basically has given their orders, you kind of have to follow them. Not a democracy here. As for the levels of seniority, guard captains, they're always in Lockhaven, basically. Patrol leaders, they're the ones that are most likely. If you have one of your mouse guard characters as a patrol leader, they're the ones that are kind of stuck in the hot seat. Yes, you can play it democratically, but this is the type of character that kind of once they commit, you have to do it. And if there's not a captain or a patrol leader, either because the patrol leader got fucking eaten, or just in this case, there just isn't one, it works on seniority. Seniority usually is weighted towards those who have been in the guard longer. And in this case, you're kind of temporary patrol leader. Also, write your session goals. Basically, the players should write their goals right before the game really starts. Also, don't write the same fucking goal. I like how they have to point that out. Like, don't do that. Just don't. Like, that's not the point. Let's see, and here's how you design a mission. Basically, this is something for GMs if you're gonna work in Mouse Guard. So assigning a mission is simple, but missions not so much. Oh wow, Squirrel Killer. Once had a player who wrote a quick little recap the day before each game from the memory of my players for me to read out each session. It was hilarious. It was awesome as a way to see their perception of the event. Yeah, it's pretty critical for games like this, mainly because it helps keep the verisimilitude. I think that's how you pronounce it. It could be verisimilitude. Basically, it keeps you within the immersion. You kind of need that. But yeah, missions are guided based on where you're going. Weather is horrible. Wilderness kind of determines things. And again, if you run into something like this fucking owl here, you're gonna have to hope that it doesn't dive bomb into your little snow crevice and kill you. And also, mice sometimes unironically will be your biggest opponent. And this is just kind of teaching you as as a GM. It's also a kind of an interesting GM's guide. I kind of like how this book it's organized a bit. I wouldn't say oddly. It's actually organized really well, and I like how they kind of interthread how a GM ways for a GM to work. This might be a book that's really good for people who want to try GMing because it really kind of goes step by step throughout the whole process. I've noticed. And here's some examples. It's one thing to have a handful of hazards, starving mice, rains, and a rising river. It's another to turn those pieces into a compelling situation. Yeah, you're 3 levels of fuck depending on the animal. Like I said, do you really hate your players, or do you think that they're being assholes? Send a peregrine falcon after them. They can go up to over 200 miles an hour in a stoop dive. They're not going to see it coming. Hell, most people don't see them coming when they do their stoop dive. Same with owls, because owls are completely silent when they fly. But yeah, they give an example of that. Uh, to be a hero, there's another level to it. It's not just that life is hard and duty is dangerous. You play to see if your guard mice have the necessary qualities to become heroes. Basically, the challenges have to actually be grueling. There has to be an ordeal. Heroes are not easy in this game. You essentially have to throw yourself into the maw of death. Uh, that's kind of the difference. There's doing your job, and then there's stepping above the chaff, basically sticking your neck out in the line. And that's the thing. That's the big thing in Mouse Guard. Do you have what it takes to be a hero? Because it's one thing to just be a guardsman. It's another to essentially 5v1 a fucking snake. There's a snake. It's coming towards it. You have to fight it to the death, or it will dig its way into that mouse town and eat everyone. That is it is not your deeds. It's not killing the snake. It's the ability to fight down the basically nightmarish fear, the gibbering terror in your heart as you take on a. For us, it's only like a 6-footer, but to them, it's like what is it, like a 70? Shit, man, that'd be like a 200-foot long serpent of nightmarish legend. Also, here's the thing: your instincts. Basically, once you run into danger, your instincts might fuck you. Yeah, snakes don't fuck around. Snakes are great. The snakes are amazing creatures, but yeah, they don't fuck around. They move real fast when they need to. There is actually a reason why we actually have a psychological component in our brains. They've actually recently done studies. We recognize snakes so easily due to a combination of factors, but some of it is legitimately if you get bit by this, you die. Like out of all the animals, if you blur a photo to shit and back, as you unblur them, snakes are among the first to be identified, even more than cats and dogs. Let's see. Yeah, basically your instincts. You have to put the patrol in danger, and it's basically your reactions. And you can either try to suppress the instinct, which is playing against type, which can work, or you fall into it, which can also work, or it could fuck you. Also, obstacles that just don't get in the way, but it also threaten your goal. Sometimes you have a kind of a Hobson's choice. Do you finish the mission, leaving people to die, or do you forsake your goals to try to do the better thing? Basically, do you finish the mission, or do you throw it away in order to try to save someone else? or do something else that would do maybe better good. Or worse, who knows? Also, the other thing as a GM, that's every now and again threaten relationships. A medieval Tom and Jerry. I think they've played around with that a few times. Also, yeah, you really do need to challenge them. So how do you play? Let's see. Oh, a nice little close up there. During the GM's turn, the GM's job is to beat the Oh man. Sorry, that made me laugh. During the GM's turn, it's the GM's job to beat the crap out of the player's guard mice characters. I think I can skim through. So, yep, it's just going bit by bit. Here we go. So they give you examples of some of the obstacles. Like to give you an idea, some obstacles are impossible to just deal with in one go. Like for example, they use the coastline. If you're navigating like the coast of a river, you're gonna need survivalists to build oars and floats, and then you need to then boatcraft, and then last but not least, you have to fucking row. So what happens when you either succeed or fail? Success is when a player passes one of the abilities or skill tests put onto them by you, and he gets what he wants and overcomes that obstacle. You should also offer a cool description to celebrate this, and then you move on from there. If you fail, though, there's one of two things that can happen. You can decide he fails to overcome the obstacle and throw a twist into the story, or you can allow them to succeed, but with a condition. For example, they can pass, but they're now hungry, or angry, or tired, or injured. Let's see. They give an example by using what seems to be the opener from the comic. Basically, you're supposed to. In this example, they were supposed to guard a grain merchant, but they don't see a. They fail to meet up, so they find an overturned grain cart. Challenge with relationship. Go full soap opera. Father Mouse cheats on mother with her long-term twin sister. You could unironically make it a big soporific opera. In either case, you get to decide the scene and what happens. You even get to decide what the character does to foul up and get tied in knots. And you're just moving from obstacle to obstacles. The players roll during the GM's turn. During the GM's turn, the players must confront the obstacles placed before them. Describe your reactions to the obstacles. For example, in this case, these two poor bastards are trying to not freeze to death in the snowdrift. Oh yeah, you can definitely do much more than something like a little soap opera thing. For example, you could go the full Monty where you find out that your father mouse legitimately killed your mother, made it look like a predator got her, just so that he could shack up with the newer younger model. And you find out that your father's kinslayer also might be plotting to kill someone else to get their money. That could be its own little arc right there. You find out that this person that you were raised by, that you respected to a decent degree, is actually a disgusting human being, or mouse being, I should say. They kind of go a little bit more into the turn order, which I think is fine. We're just going to kind of look at some of the stuff they have here, like this really cool portion of the panel. Like I'm just going to look at the art for this section because it's kind of similar. I will say that you can recover from your conditions. Recovery involves a test, and basically it will eat up your free roll or cost a check. And they just kind of go a little bit further into detail. Also, keep in mind that you're prompting the players with the rules. There is a pacing element. They get to relax and think about what they need. You then have to prompt them and nudge them along. Basically, try to prevent them from just sitting around and faffing about. What's the scientific name for mice? I don't actually have that one on hand. I'd have to look it up. Other players roll during the player's turn. The player's turn starts with one player spending a check to bring the character into the spotlight, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. The character sheets. Botching a roll during a game. If you mess up a roll during the game and you catch it immediately, go back and fix it. It's cool. If you don't, if you screw it up but don't notice it until later, don't worry about it. Just move on. Which that is something that sometimes happens. Sometimes you forget about a thing, and then you don't remember it until a little bit later. Just kind of have them do the thing later and just kind of rush on. Otherwise, you're gonna get stuck on the minutiae. As for missing a session, if your group is playing an ongoing game of Mouse Guard and you miss a session that the group played, you get a little boost to help catch up what you come back. Basically, after the prologue, you have to tell everyone where your character has been. You have to make up something decent, but keep it short. Once you've done that, you do one of the following. You can alleviate being hungry, thirsty, angry, or tired, recover a point of tax from your nature, or you may note a test of advancement, pass or fail for one skill. You cannot get rid of being injured or sick by missing a session, though. And there are two ways you can lose a character: death or retirement. Death is usually it's usually involuntary. It usually is. It also almost always sucks. Let the player who lost his character cool off for the remainder of the session. Retirement can be voluntary or involuntary. If they wish to retire the character, they can at any time, and they walk off to the sunset. Also, if a character's maximum nature rating is reduced to 0 due to tax, the character has to retire. They can't participate because they just can't do anymore. Musculus for house mice, huh? Did not know that. But if you retire a character, feel free to make a new guard mouse. You either choose from a template or by recruiting. If you retire or lose a character who still has fate or persona points left, you actually transfer them to your next character. You don't take the restarting rewards for that character either. You take your rewards from the session. Also, if your character dies, you would distribute the checks you earn to your patrol mates. Basically, if you drop dead in the middle of a fight, no, in the middle of an obstacle, you pass their successes on to you. As for losing a player, this is something I kind of like. I just noticed this. This is something I don't think I see enough games do. They are describing conditions in which an actual game group suffers from, because you will lose players from time to time. They can't make it on that day anymore. That happens. Or sometimes they just get tired of the game and can't do it, or they just don't want to play anymore. Or alternatively, your players die. That happens. So yeah, losing a player, sometimes that happens. When this happens, the leaving player retires their character. They should make up a cool story about what happened and why they can't patrol anymore. It has to be consistent. Maybe it was a promotion, maybe family business, or maybe just retired. So that's a neat little thing. Also, you like how this guy is taking on a crab? I really like this little bit here. And I've been thinking that that's what they were doing, but they gave a sample mission, and it's based on the first issue of the Mouse Guard series. Basically, the overturned rice cart, that actually was from the first issue. I remember that because, like I said, when I was doing my research on the comics, just to get an idea on what the system was like, they go a little bit into detail about that. So yeah. For spoiler's sake, I'm not going to cover it. I'm just going to show cool bits of art. Like here's the rice grain merchant with his little sun hat. Here's a little house. Ooh, that's cool. That's cool. Mouse is taking on what seems to be, I think, a weasel warlord. So as for resolutions, let's see. Oh, they're kind of continuing the theme here. Okay. Tests. A test refers to a roll of the dice to a single ability or skill. When you're presented with an obstacle, you've got to get safely across the stream. You're going to make it to Ivydale on time. They follow their description of the problem with an ability or skill and a difficulty. This is setting the obstacle. No weaseling. Once the GM sets an obstacle or a task, the players cannot cast about for another or easier way to accomplish what they're after. The GM may suggest an alternative method with an alternative obstacle in alternate conditions. They may also accept suggestions from the players, but once the obstacle is there, you have to take the test. Yeah, it's about a cup of rice grains. It's basically he was a rice merchant. But yeah, but basically you can't duck out of an obstacle. You have to do it. You have to. You can find alternatives, but that's about it. As for who takes the test, you kind of figure it out. You kind of slowly figure it out. And there's a couple types. There's independent tests where you grab as many dice for your abilities and give them a roll, or you can do versus, which is against another thing. Many mice are as distantly related as humans are from New World monkeys, so it's a very good idea to give them a general scientific name. Yep. Oh, also, there is an entire possibly a possibility that you create ties. And if a versus test is tied, there are 3 ways to break it. These are the following. A trade is called upon to break a tie in your opponent's favor. You may spend a fate point if you have 6s and haven't spent one already, or a tiebreaker roll can be made. A tiebreaker roll is a second versus test between the two opponents. If the skill was used in the initial tie test, will or health must be rolled to break the tie. If the skill is physical, test health. If the skill is mental or social, test will. So rather than having a player beats it on ties, you literally have to roll for it. You have to fight for it. If a second tie comes up, the player may use a trait or a fate point to try to break it. If neither of them are available or if the fate reroll fails, then the roll is considered a stalemate. Neither side succeeds or fails. You have to come up with a new situation. Passed test. If you pass the test, you've overcome and escaped unscathed. Huzzah! Role play after a pass test. The first thing you do is describe your actions. Let's not do it again. So what happens after you've passed or failed the test? The CM sets a new obstacle in front of him. Let's see. A new set of abilities and skills is called upon to be tested. You've beaten that obstacle, so what your control encountered. So try not to use the same shit over and over again. Just don't. I'm noticing that this seems to be a bit of a repeat, which I think that's a minor ding against the book, but it's kind of just really explaining over and over. Like, this is very newbie friendly, I've noticed, which is really nice. But yeah, it's just kind of hammering the same shit over and over again. But it is, again, this is a great book if you've never DM'd before. Also, wises are your knowledge skills. We already know this. Use of wises is situational. So you can use gear against obstacles. Like, let's say you have that river problem. You can unironically, if you have the gear, you might already have like skis. Oh no. Like, let's say you're going out in winter. You could have skis to go across the terrain, which makes it notably easier. Teamwork is fucking critical, by the way. Oh, by the way, this is death. If you run into this scenario, yeah, do what they're doing. Fucking run. Fucking run. He knows. That snake knows. You could tell from the vacant look in his eyes. Oh, also, you reap what you sow. Everyone who donates a die of help for a test is then bound by the end results. If the test is successful, you all share in the results. But if the test is failed, sorry, buddy, you take the same problem. You also cannot help another mouse with a will or health test for recovery. All mice are on their own for those. As for beginner's luck, nature can be used as a substitute for any ability or skill that you don't have. However, nature prevents the character from learning skills. If you'd like to learn a skill your character doesn't have, you should not use your nature. You use beginner's luck rolls. If the character does not have an appropriate skill or for a test, you can roll your will or health in place of nature. Total up the dice for the ability, wises, help, and gear. Make the test using half that number, rounded up. If the skill is physical, use half of health. If the skill is mental or social oriented, using half of will. Easy stuff won't be too much of a problem, but more complex tasks would be harder. And then they give an example here. Saxon doesn't have the persuader skill. Even so, he's always arguing with Kenzie about the direction the patrol should take. So when Saxon tries to convince Kenzie, he rolls half his will rounded up, versus Kenzie's full persuader skill. You can also spend persona points on skill tests. You can add this. If an ability is at 0 due to injury or sickness, you cannot test it using beginner's luck, though. Yeah, you must use nature until you're recovered. Using beginner's luck is the first step in learning a new skill. The snake. Hey, let's go back. Swiggity swooty, I'm coming for that mouse booty. No, he's not coming for that mouse booty. He's gonna eat. He's like got the bib and he's got like they should put like a little bib on him. If he had arms, if this was like a lizard, he'd have little like knife and fork. Oh my god, that snake is so happy he can smell them right there. He's like, oh yeah, I won't have to eat for like 5 months if I eat all of them at once. Also, look at this badass moment here. This mouse is taking on this fucking fish, and he's winning. Oh, the roll mechanic. If you missed it, so it is a D6 system. You have a dice pool, and what happens is 1, 2, and 3 equals failure. Your dice are cowards. Your dice are weasels. They are fail. 4, 5, and 6 is a success. And in case of skills, you can use your nature, which basically is your ability to continue going along just naturally. Or you can learn it by using beginner luck rules, which is where you use half your will or your health. And that's how you learn skills. Okay, we're going into conflict, so let's see. Sometimes those hurdles are not enough. Sometimes a moment's so important you need to stop. You create conflict. Conflicts needs to have active opponents of at least two sides. So I'm just going to use the example before the book. 3 years ago, there was a big warlord who was a weasel, and the Mouse Guard legitimately fought a war with him. That would be an example of a conflict. Only a GM can start a conflict. The action in the game builds up to a head. He calls for a conflict. The patrol stumbles across a snake's burrow full of eggs. One of the two guard mice jump onto the burrow to dispatch the young. Meanwhile, the remaining mice are left to stand watch. The mother snake emerges hissing mad and ambushes the lone guard mouse. This is going to be a fight to the death. And it fucking would be. Conflicts are more complicated than testing to overcome obstacles. Basically, this is how you fight in the system. The steps for starting and playing a conflict are each listed at the right. Each step is a detailed description of what follows the list. You decide the type of conflicts, determine. Basically, you're entering combat. Conflicts can be arguments or a fight, a chase, any action scene, basically. If it's a conflict via argument, you have to convince the other character to get info. That's what you do. If you're trying to avoid being killed or you're trying to chase someone, chase. Fight, yeah, sometimes it's just a fight to the death, negotiations, journey, blah, 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 blah. These are all of the things you can do. Also, you build from one conflict to the next. You can't mix conflict types, but yeah. Main rules of nature: don't touch it, mother's children. Oh yeah, that snake's gonna kill them all. So the participants are often, when you get into a conflict, you have multiple players working together. So usually it's 1 to 2 players. It's always one team. 3 players is one team. This is the optimal team sizes. Teams are rarely split into 2 uneven teams. If you have 4 players, sometimes you have 2 teams of 2 or 1 team of 3 and 1 of 1. 5 is 2 teams. Basically, you're separated into 2 chunks. Let's see. And I don't. I'm gonna be honest. The mechanics here are starting to kind of break down a little bit. I love the visuals of the work, and I do like that it tries to really hammer home how the system works. But on the other hand, I'm starting to see some issues with it, you know? Because this feels a little bit I'm not a fan of the whole if your player team is too big, you split it into multiple teams. I'm not a fan of that. I am not a fan of that. Complement each other's strengths. There's all sorts of methods to deciding who joins the team. You can go with your friends. You can divide by age, cloak color, or fur color. I'm not a fan of this. I really don't. I'm not a fan of this. I can maybe see why it's doing that for game balancing reasons, but holy shit, not a fan. Then there's the GM side. The GM usually forms their own team to oppose the players, but you can join on them side if you wish. Uh, the GM has characters involved who are sympathetic to the player side that may help as per the teamwork rules. Yeah, this is kind of garbage. This section's kind of garbage. No offense, no offense, not David. What's his name? Crane. No offense, Ryder. I'm not a fan of this one. If you're not interested in either side of a conflict, it's okay to sit out, relax for a moment, and be a good audience, cheer for good role playing. Sometimes your characters will be separate from others in a story. It won't make sense for you to be in a certain conflict. Sit out these themes and be an appreciative listener. Ah, yes, sitting there with a thumb up your asshole. High quality. That's a fucking shame, too, because the front half was actually pretty well designed, I think. And it's actually really informative if you've never run a game before. I don't like this section at all. I think it's pretty poorly designed. Maybe apparently a second edition came out relatively recently. Maybe that one cleaned up this problem. This is currently the weakest element in the book, which is kind of sad. It is simplistic, and honestly, most systems usually have faults, but this one's pretty egregious. Teamwork and conflicts. You may give your team members helping dice for disposition rolls and tests for actions in a conflict. If you help with a disposition roll for a combat, you're considered on that team. If you don't want to be on a team, don't help with the roll. If you're not on a team at all, you can choose to help any team. God, this sucks. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this section. I think you have to throw this shit out. Nah, this is crap. One is death on the line. In journeys, fights, and wars, it's possible to use the death of your opponent as a goal. There's a snake. To represent how strong your side's position is in the conflict. Oh my god! This is poo. It's a shame because the art's so good, but damn, this section's poo. So the goal is you knock their disposition down to 0. Grab storytellers, replace. Yeah, just this part's crap. This is, I think, one of his first ones. Also, I think this system works best if you're talking about, because remember, he did mention, I don't like that it's considered part of the fighting system, but remember that some of the other conflicts actually this kind of works for it. Like an argument, I think that one's actually pretty fair. Negotiations, you know what? I think that one's also kind of pretty fair. Journeys, maybe. That one's kind of iffier in my opinion. I think that would be more of an extended obstacle tour. Speech, yes. This system works best when it comes to those sorts of things. It does not work for conflict. And 1 second, I'm seeing something, and that for some reason, some person has decided to regularly, constantly log in and out of fucking Steam, and I don't want to see that in my goddamn window, so I have to kill it. Sorry, it's just like, holy shit, dude, stop, please. Please. Please stop. No, Yanamate. Don't do this. Die, Steam. Holy shit. Ah, God, it was like a Hydra. Sorry about that, viewers. It's just otherwise I was going to see the guy fail to log on to the same fucking game like 5 times. I get they're trying to find out how to do any type of yeah, it drops the ball. Specifically, I don't think you can do this system in fighting. Otherwise, it's just It's just going to be suffering. Because imagine like half your party just sits on on their asshole while you're fighting for your life against some other jackass. Or alternatively, the way they're describing it is sometimes your players can betray your friends, you're part of the patrol, betray you to the death. Also, you're gonna tell me that their what was it? Their resolve is their health, or is that some other shit? Mm-mm. Yeah, they should have probably saved this for the social conflict, while the other conflict should have been just straight up a fighting system. Hey, look, there's a little table. Conflict types, argument chase, blah blah blah. The test skill, add to base. Well, but yeah. Using nature for disposition. Mice may only use nature as a base for disposition if the conflict is appropriate to their nature. Animals and disposition. Animals under the GM's control test nature and add their successes to it. Gives them an edge, but it's in their nature. Season disposition. If you're starting a journey conflict or any other conflict that involves struggling against the season, test the season's rating. Then add your success to the season. Yeah, I don't like the conflict system. This section I think should be thrown out. So actions, yeah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. Here's the snake again. He's so happy. He's so happy. The attack action lets you take a shot at your goal. In a fight, this means whacking away at the enemy or filling. We know how an attack works. Holy shit. Oh yeah, if you're wondering, Dark Sun, I intentionally made it so that my avatar was assault elemental, assault golem. Mainly just because I am well aware that I have a very quick and sharp temper, so I produce a prodigious amount of fucking salt. That is why I made myself a salt golem. There is a reason behind every character's avatar, and it's usually a combination of them asking for it and just kind of fitting their personality depending on who's who. It's been a while since some of them have shown up, but it's kind of that reasoning and logic. Uh, I'm gonna be honest. I'm really not a fan of how they handled the combat system in this one. Not good. Not a good plan. Gain position. Oh no, this is even worse than some of the weird Fantasy Flight moments. If you've ever played Star Wars Edge of Empires or Star Wars Age of Rebellion, let me tell you, it is entirely possible to get nothing but advantages because of how the failures eat your successes. And for some reason, at least whenever it came to me rolling for anything in that game, I would get like two successes, two failures, and like four advantages because they're all in the same fucking dice system. Ah, God, that was infuriating. Made me want to scream. Ugh. What the fuck is this? Action table. Are all of these action interactions making your head swim? You can refer to this handy table. No, it's a testament of your failure, motherfucker. You shouldn't have to have a helpful table. What is this, Phoenix Command? By the way, viewers, I now have a copy of Phoenix Command. I might torment people with it at some point in the future. Ah, no. Oh, no, you shouldn't have to do. Like, you're swinging a fucking sword. You're, you're swinging a fucking sword. This is why I hate Mutants and Mastermind 3rd edition, by the way. Because if you ever read their Deluxe Heroes Handbook, you need to do like a 3-stage equation to figure out if you could throw a fucking car 100 feet at the bad guy. You're a big, dumb, angry strongman. I shouldn't have to do 3-stage equations to hurl a goddamn Cadillac. What the fuck is this shit? Dark Sun. You can't really say that because you also like the Mutants and Mastermind 3.0 version, where you have to do the subtraction of the weight of the mass of the object minus your strength rating, or vice versa, to determine the distance rating that you could yeet the goddamn car, alongside the speed rating, which is also based on the same variable calculations. If I'm doing that shit, that is about 2 steps too goddamn many to just hurl a goddamn car at some guy. I am big dumb strong man. I should just be able to yeet the car. I am a mouse with a sword. I should be able to just stab the fucking snake. Oh god. Oh, that's horrible. Ugh. Oh, baby Jesus. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought you actually played with that system, Dark Sun. Sorry, that's an apology on my end. Mea culpa. Basically, both of these systems, I think, do best if you skip past this section. Mutants and Mastermind, just throw out the tables chart, only use it for consultation, and then just kind of treat it as a D20 system, or however they actually use the basic system. For Mouse Guard, don't ever use the conflict system. Just use obstacles and then just do verses without any of this garbage. Like if you have to, put like a HP system or something in place. So here's how combat works in the game. This is an actual example. So Liam's fighting the snake. Action 1. I have an attack. The snake slithers out of its burrow, rids and lunges at you, Red Fur. What do you have? I steel myself and look for a weakness in the snake. My first action is a maneuver. Consulting the action table, we see that the actions mean the two players make a versus test. Liam rolls his nature a 4. You'll see why in the next section. He rolls 2 successes. The snake, nature 7. He rolls 4. He beats it by 2. The GM says the snake is too fast. He's coming on hard. He rears back to strike. You lose 2 points from your disposition. I don't get what the fuck they're trying to do either, Squirrel Killer. I hate this. Liam's player reduces his disposition from 7 to 5. How did they calculate their disposition? Fucker, if I know! The GM continues. Liam hesitates and stumbles a bit. Then the GM says, Action 2, attack again. The snake lunges. Liam's player says, I have an attack too. Attack against attack is independent. The GM rolls the snake's nature 7 and gets 4 successes. This reduces Liam's disposition from 5 to 1. The Red Fur is in trouble. What does your character do? The GM asks. Why the hell is... What? What the fuck? He didn't do the attack. Oh, this is pain. This is... My job is to understand this stuff. Like you skipped through at times, but I'm beyond... I haven't skipped through that much, though, Squirrel Killer. I haven't skipped through shit. The previous stuff was an entirely different system called obstacles, where what happens are... which literally is like a normal person. The obstacle has a set challenge value. You need X successes to continue. You get the successes, you have succeeded, or you don't, and you are either injured or get a condition, or you have to find another way. That makes sense. This is garbage. This is garbage. I am waving my hands like I'm bowing to this thing in worship. Holy shit. What the fuck? What the fuck? Okay. Okay. Let's continue the fight. Liam's player thinks for a moment. He is losing 10 to 1. He has to do a lot of damage quickly. He spends a persona point and taps his nature. He adds his nature rating 4 to fighter 3. He also adds his determined trait to the roll. This is like some Yu-Gi-Oh bullshit if you've ever seen the anime. Like this is some fucking Yu-Gi-Oh bullshit, man. Well, let me actually do it in Yugi's voice. Haha! I will spend a persona point to tap into my nature. I will then use my nature rating 4, combining with my fighter 3. I will also apply the determined trait in this roll and use the plus 1d sword bonus that I have as well. I have 10 dice. Jesus Christ. By the way, hey there, Jim. We've gotten to the combat system, and it's, I think, the worst combat system I have ever seen. I have ever, like, this is one of the worst combat systems I have ever fucking seen. This is worse than Powered by the Apocalypse. Which is depressing, because I would say for the most part prior to this, the book has been pretty good. And the art is beautiful, but like, holy fucking shit. Yeah, so that's what you missed, Jim. While you were watching glorious Canadian football, I was looking at the world's worst combat system I've ever fucking seen in my life. As the snake lunges for me, I do the last thing it would expect. I dive into the creature's mouth, and when I do, I drive my sword into its brain. Liam rolls. See the figure above. Liam's player rolls 10 dice total, 6 successes, plus 4 sixes. Not enough to win, so he spends a fate point to re-roll his sixes. He picks up 4 new dice, 1 for each 6, and rolls them. He rolls 4 more successes. That snake is toast. Take what back? No, take what back, Squirrel Killer? I didn't say anything negative about Canadian football. I was saying that Mouse Guard has the worst fucking combat system than goddamn Powered by the Apocalypse. Like, this fighting system is terrible. Squirrel Killer. This combat is worse to deal with than Powered by the Apocalypse when it is applied to combat. Outside of that, this is a better game system. I know that. I am saying that its combat system is more painful and dumber than a Powered by the Apocalypse, because that one's determined in a more simplistic way that is not this shit. You are all capsing about not understanding this garbage. So yes, it is sadly better, at least in forms of combat. Whew. So, yeah, we're just going to continue on. Which skill do you use? Argument, chase, blah, 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 blah. So, the conflict types and actions for attack and defense: persuaders. Feint is the persuader or deceiver. Maneuvers, persuader or deceiver. These are your skills. I don't blame you. This section is easily the worst in the book by fucking far. By fucking far. I will say though that despite that glaring negative, I would much rather play this game than any Powered by the Apocalypse engine. Mainly because, yes, combat, that's terrible. That using this for combat is the dumbest thing you could ever fucking do. But you can just ignore it for combat. You can just make your own. You could just clutch together some garbage homebrew system. You could just do that. I don't understand the goal. The goal is to fight your way to heroism. Also, multiple characters in a team. If you have 2 or more mice on one team, each player takes turn testing for and describing their actions for the team. So in the snake fight example, you could have like 5 mice, and like half of them are just sitting there on their asses, I guess, because they're a different team. Well, no, I actually perfectly understand what direction they were going for. They were trying to do a new conflict resolution dice system, but the problem was they decided to combine combat, which is a very distinctly different beast, than politicking, which is its own system. And they don't seem to understand that in a fucking fight, unless the entire party's somewhere else, it's gonna be one big fucking team of 5 beating the living fucking shit out of that snake. Is it a worse combat systems than Rifts? Huh. I'd actually say slightly. Yeah, I'd say it's slightly worse than Rift because I can perfectly understand a percentile-based combat system. Like, to give you an idea, you know what happens in Rifts? I can get all 5 of my boys, we're all armed with weird shit, and we just do mega damage using percentile rolls against a guy. In this, I have to divide my group into 2 different fucking teams. Like, to give you an idea, in the games I play on Friday, there are 6 of us. You would have to divide them into 3 teams of 2 or 2 teams of 3. And then they would interact in different ways to the same threat, rather than just kind of all collectively doing a thing or just doing fucking initiative like a normal human being would fucking do. Because they wanted to do something different, and god damn it did they fail. They goddamn failed when it comes to fighting. This system works noticeably better, I will say, in an argument. Like, to give you an idea, this would work well for a debate mechanic system, for a persuasion system. I actually like it in that particular term. It works a lot better in that. It also works if you're dealing with an inter-party conflict. This is a decent way to deal with player versus player. That's about it. Oh god, no. Even at its worst, this is still better than Fatal. I really hope the second edition of Mouse Guard at least fixed this, because this is terrible. This is genuinely terrible. As for multiple teams, multiple actions, you can start a conflict involving multiple teams per side. 2 teams against blah, blah, blah. If 2 teams have the same target and choose actions that are both versus against their target's action, they have to help each other, then roll separately. Well, that's the fucking point! That might have been the point, but it's so bad. Oh god, I feel sick. By the way, if a conflict is tied, they're both reduced to 0. The conflict's a tie. Both sides accomplish their goal. This is a very dangerous outcome. If Liam and the Snake had reduced each other to 0 on the same action, it would have been a tie. They both would have died. It would have been a dramatic and heroic end to the Red Fur. Like a pulling dice of each team to increase success, maybe? Why don't you just do what goddamn D&D did and just have a goddamn initiative system? Initiative, health. Why don't you just do that? Or crib from like any other gajillion games, like West End. Take how they handle that shit. I fucking awful. Fucking awful. If you lost but took points off your opponent's disposition, he must offer you a compromise. Compromises are like twists, in which case they're the result of the whole conflict, not a failed roll. And players also get to introduce compromises, but not just the GM. Once the conflict... Like, have you noticed that it seems to be heavily weighted towards speech-based ones? It's really stupid because he uses a combat-based one, but this makes much more sense if you're talking about an argument. This guy decided to make an argument mechanic into the combat system of the game. Holy shit. By the way, there's 3 grades of it. There's a minor compromise, and blah, 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 blah. Minor compromises, you lost a little. If the winner lost less than half their disposition, he owes the loser a minor compromise. They may seek a small part of his goal or something related to it. I hate this so much. Compromise. If the winner comes out of the conflict with only half of their disposition, they owe a significant concession. Or the loser could accept defeat but introduce a new complication. This is how a player creates twist. Oh god, I'm starting to sound fucking. Oh god. On the bright side, though, this is getting me into the mindset for covering multiverse of garbage. Yeah, this is an overreaching subsystem. I don't know why the fuck he decided to do it this way. I mean, if he was terrified at having, if he was terrified at not killing his players enough or beating the crap out of them enough, just steal and refine Cyberpunk's system or any of the Fantasy Flight Wound systems. Like Warhammer Roleplay Fantasy does it really well. You can get beat to shit and back and die like casually if you do it right. Oh my god. Especially since you could tell the snake had more nature, which means he hits goddamn harder. God. Oh god. I don't know if it's this book making me sick or it's the rapid shifts in temperature doing it. Holy crap. Oh god. Binding results. The results, victories, and compromise are binding results. You can surrender during a conflict. This is optional. Oh god. Gear for conflicts. There's fighting weapons. Weapon length and ranges. Fighting weapons have a handful of quality. Normal, spear, thrown, and missile. Normal, short length. They don't have any special. Spears are longer. Thrown weapons have longer range. Missiles have longest. That's all you need to know right now. I'll describe exactly what they do below. Axe, deadly. +1 success after a successful attack. Slow. -1 to defend or feint. Bow, missile. Against short-range weapon, your attack counts as a versus action rather than What the fuck's a versus action? What the fuck's a versus action? Oh god, I just read that too! Fuck! I ain't getting back. I already forgot what the fuck a independent versus action is. So yeah, Scroll Killer ran Immortals Chronicles of Darkness game recently. And they only survived by a miracle. Yeah. To give you a board comparison, Scroll Killer, I might as well reveal. I run a hunter game. I've mentioned it a few times before. I threw a mask specialist serial killer at my team. 5 stamina, 5 strength, 5 melee. Weapon mono focus axe. It is literally a miracle none of them died. It is a miracle none of them fucking died. I did not hold back. I did not hold back at all. The only reason that they did not die is I did not get the ability to do the drop on and kill one of them from nowhere routine. Because yes, the slasher had that as an ability. And that is why tactics are super important if you're playing a Hunter the Vigil campaign. Because that is the only reason they didn't fucking die. Woo! So the gear for conflicts, okay, where was I? Halberds. They're versatile pole arms. They can be used as a spear or axe. Choose which one mode you're doing. Oh yeah, long range plus duty to maneuver against normal spears or. This is terrible. No offense. This is. I hate this. I hate this so much. Hook and line. One die to maneuver. 1 success after a successful maneuver. Unwieldy. 1d to attack. Knife, short and quick. Any successful maneuver when fighting with a knife counts as the disarm effect. This happens in addition to the margin of... Well, that makes knives fucking bullshit. Am I right? Because, I mean, you basically throw away their advantage with a knife, and then you just keep kicking their ass, and you can throw them, too, which means you get more range. Oh no! Unironically, the entire party would have died because one of the players actually specialized in melee combat and basically held off the mask for like 2 turns. Basically, if that character wasn't there, I would have expected at least half the party to have died, and then the other half probably would have been killed by the werewolf. Don't worry, the werewolf was the temporary ally. what happened though was they fell into their rage. It is literal fucking luck that they managed to escape alive. Anyway, shields plus 2 dice to defend. Oh, I'm starting to lose like all interest in this book. Shit. Let's just so for armor, it gives you extra dice to your disposition roll for the fight. Oh, you have to roll your fucking disposition? You have to roll your fucking health? What? Oh, you gotta be fucking with me, pal. Oh, fuck. That's what? Are are you goddamn high? What the fuck? What the fuck am I reading? Weapons of wit are weapons you can use in an argument in a speech. They are mostly role-playing cues. They give you guidelines on what to say or how you say it. Intimidation or deception. Plus 1 success to a successful feint or maneuver. This would be a wise! If this game system knew what the fuck it was doing, it'd be a wise! Evidence. 1 success after a successful attack. If the character has pre-established evidence to support their side, they can display it and explain it. No, it should be like an automatic fuck you damage. Roleplay bonus is granted to players who deliver their lines in character. Oh god, I'm gonna have a fucking stroke. Oh. Oh. Fuck. Oh man, this is like Cadillacs and dinosaurs all over again. Oh no! So much passion thrown down the goddamn toilet. I can't stop laughing. Oh fuck me. Oh, ay Dios mío. Ay Dios mío. Oh, they're even fucking up the argument section now. They're fucking it all up. They all poo. Woo. Okay, here's the conditions. Okay, so let's see what the conditions. These are what you get. So your baseline is healthy. All mice start in this area. They are healthy, happy, and fed. This is where you want to be. There are no penalties at this point for being a healthy mouse. Once conditions are alleviated, you return to being healthy. And if any other condition is checked, you are no longer considered healthy. So here are some of the other conditions. Hungry and thirsty. That can impair you quite a bit because you essentially fight on your stomach. Mice are very concerned about, and honestly, people in general, you're not you if you're hungry or thirsty. This subtracts 1 from disposition for any conflict. Which, last I checked, given I think you roll your disposition, you legitimately roll it. My guess is the D6 determines if you start with like 3, 6 to 7, 3, 5, and 7. Maybe it starts like that. You like the different. I'd have to look at it again. Actually, I don't even know if it explained how you'd roll for disposition. Let me look. Let me fucking look. I want to at least give them a little bit of a chance here because that's just Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. All right, where's your? How do we start with disposition again? Have to go all the way up here. Modifiers to disposition. Okay, how do I do disposition? How do I do disposition? Oh, this is even stupider than I thought. Okay, here we go. Actions are chosen in sets of 3 and are revealed one at a time. Once everyone's actions are revealed, we play out the interaction. Here's how it works. Each group privately chooses 3 actions, the first, second, and third, and notes their choices on the back of the senior-most mouse's character sheet. It is traditional for the senior-most mouse on our team to choose your team's actions and note them on the sheet. Oh, God. Oh, God. To represent how strong your side's position is in this conflict, each team generates a number called disposition. A disposition of 3 or less is low, 4 to 6 is okay, 7 and higher is strong. You will use all your wits. So to generate your team's disposition of a conflict, consult the conflict type on the next page. The player who initiated it is then test the listed skill. The player's team, their team may help. The obstacle for the test is 0. Add the successes of it roll to the ratings to the tester's based ability. A minimum is 1. Senior mouse. Oh fucking. Oh. So you okay? You do have at least a baseline, so that helps. So this is what you add to base. So you use your health or nature, will, or yeah, yeah, and then you add your skill. You test your skill and you add it from there. Oh my god, I hate that so fucking much. I fucking hate this so fucking much. I like the part where you secretly write what you're gonna do and no one fucking knows what you're gonna do. Hand it to the GM and then you just act like a jackass and get killed by the snake. High quality game design right there. Damn shame because this is some beautiful art. I the dumbest thing is, unironically, the artist played DMD and he okayed this. No, it's even dumber than that, Squirrel Killer. When you form your little team, what you do is each of you privately write what you're going to do. You privately write what you're going to do, and then you hand it to the team captain, who then chooses what the team is going to do. And then you hand it to, and then the GM will and the guy will reveal what they're going to do. Well, no, that's what the other team captain then does, which can culminate in the glorious scenario of, because you're not goddamn talking to each other despite being part of the same fucking patrol. Let's say you have a team of 6 or a team of 5. The 2 guys outside of the main group might come up with a completely different plan and absolutely fuck both of you. Like, it fucks the whole group because you're not working together. And the dumbest thing is, I can completely understand the logic, but goddamn is that infuriating. Compared to every other goddamn tabletop game out there, that is infuriating. It works fine for a paranoia game. Hell, that actually makes perfect sense for paranoia. This ain't paranoia though. This is your patrol out in the wilds avoiding death. Oh god. Ah man. This section is a fucking nightmare. This section is a fucking nightmare. What was it? Yeah, Jim? What? What happened? No, I'm fine. What are you on about? What are you on about? I just had to cough. Sorry about that. I just didn't think it was very polite for me to cough into the mic. This game, not even Fatal made you choose in secret. You're actually saying that Fatal's a better game mechanically than this now, huh? For a minute there, I thought you thought. For a minute there, I thought you thought I died. I'm not saying this is worse than Fatal. Like, I'm infuriated. I think this game design is horse shit. But at the end of the day, it's still simpler to understand. It's just, why the fuck would you play the game like this at all? As for the other conditions, angry, yeah, you just lose your temper. Being angry subtracts one from your disposition to any will-based stuff. Tired, this from all conflicts. Injured, dice penalty to nature, will, health, and skill tests. It's not applied to anything. As for being sick, same thing. And if you have a rating of 0, you can't use that ability at all. Oh, there's a lot of ways you could have done this that's not stupid. The simplest would have been. Oh, I can see a bunch of them actually. One of them is simply just fucking rework the system to be simple. Like, you don't need this stupid teamwork shit. Second of all, I probably would have just done the wound system. Like, you just start with a base certain amount of wounds, and then your conditions affect how many wounds you start. At least when it comes to combat. Actually, A Song of Ice and Fire did this way better. I just remembered the Song of Ice and Fire roleplay game. They had two stats. Basically, there was your physical health, which is where you're fighting off assassins, dealing in tourneys, going to war, and then you had your social stats, which represented your emotional ability to deal with others and the capacity to argue against them. And that is how they split up basically two different systems of combat, which on the surface makes it more complicated, but it allowed you to custom make those systems to actually be easier to understand. Oh, and also it is completely possible to be suffering from all of these conditions, so feel free to mention that. As for conditions of failure, you can apply conditions you fail a roll, but it's allowed to pass the test. Conditions and seasons, conditions in a conflict. I just want to move on. Holy shit. Recovery. Suffering under conditions burdensome and hinders your effectiveness. It requires you to rest up. There's obstacles to recovery. Conditions are pernicious. You must relieve them first. Hungry and first, thirsty first, then angry, then tired, then injured, then sick. You've got to deal with being hungry and thirsty before you can let go of your anger. What? Having a recovery order is fucking stupid, dude. That's fucking stupid. Don't get me wrong, in terms of critical life-saving things, you probably should deal with hunger and thirst first. Like, legitimately, yeah. I don't like, but there's other things like, I don't know, being sick. This game is like legitimately frying my mind. But yeah, basically you have to deal with all these. It describes all of them, by the way. The easiest to get rid of is Hungry and Thirsty, which is a level 1 test. You need 1 success. Anger's 2, Fatigue's 3, Injured's 4, and Sick is 4. There's also twists, blah, blah, blah. Beautiful art. Just, the problem is we're in the part of the game that fucking sucks. No, it's a beautiful idea, and I've seen stuff like this before. This is like Bunnies and Burrows, and basically he was inspired by D&D when he made the Mouse Guard comics. Death and killing. Your guard mouse could be killed in the line of duty. It's a real risk. The limits of mousehood. As a mouse, what you can kill is rather limited. There's a nifty graphic that shows a sort of food chain. All the critters in the territory is called the natural order. Listing fight conflicts, you can only set your sights on creatures that are lower than, equal to, or 1 level higher than you in the order. Warren Special Science allows you to injure and kill animals that are much higher than you in the natural order. There are special rules for killing mouse and weasel characters. These are imposed in addition. If you're trying to kill your opponents in a fight, you gotta win with little to no compromise. If you win with no compromise, you've done the deed. It's over. You've gotta win with little or no compromise? What? If you win with minor compromise or 101, you gets one last act before he dies. It can be then and there. He can stagger back to town. That's that's even more infuriating. So you could put this motherfucker down. If you get like a minor or a normal compromise, that GM could be a complete bastard and just have them fucking march their way. Oh my god! If you win with a minor compromise in a group battle and one or two of your opponents have been killed, the others are injured but alive. How about go fuck yourself? No, you target motherfuckers. You don't. No. Now, do you have any idea how many times that would fucking infuriate your players? And it's a shame because here's the dumb thing. You can tell they know how to play games. This is just them trying to make a completely new system. Because they describe all of the elements for playtesting and dealing with groups. They know how to play games. This is oh god. This is them trying to reinvent the wheel. And oh my god, they invented a square. Oh lord. If you want to compromise in a group conflict, one character takes it for the team. Everyone else is injured and tired. So, you win with a compromise. One of your characters just gets fucking killed. One of your characters just gets killed. If you win with a major compromise, the characters are alive but left for dead. Check all their conditions and reduce their circles and resource by 1. I'm about to close this goddamn book. This is reminding me way too much of Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Way too much. That one was promising too, and then it just losing a character. Losing a character sucks. If you win with a compromise, one of you has to take it for the team. But losing a character sucks. First, you're out of the game until the end of the session. Are you fucking stupid or something? Are you fucking stupid or something? Oh, you're right, Jim. I just noticed that. I was so angry at that. I didn't notice. I have the anger affliction. My salt golem avatar strikes again. You're right. You could kill him. You could decapitate the motherfucker. But because almost everyone lost all of their compromise, all of their disposition, like everyone's down to like ones and twos, that motherfucker will rise like a lich. You can put down that like this asshole, big bad evil guy that has been fucking with you for the past 10 sessions. He just comes back because you got hurt too much, so the GM can do it. That's legitimately how you can play the system. Oh, God. Oh. So, by the way, I love how when your character dies, even if it's really early into the session, which your average tabletop session can be like 3 to 5 hours long. It varies on person. Like, if you die in the first hour just because you got drowned in a river because of how this system fucking works, I'm sorry, buddy. You gotta sit there for 2 fucking hours with your thumb up your ass. Look, look. In a high lethality game, you can have a total party kill. Which is annoying because guess what? You've scheduled a game to last for at least 2 to 5 hours. And because you've done that, well, what are you going to do now, motherfucker? You've just completely shuffled the game. And there's a charm in that. You can do another game in that time, but like let's say you're going for a more story based, because that's the problem. They're focusing on narrative. Congrats, the entire like you lost like half the mouse patrol. And the others are basically left for dead, and then they die to the next obstacle. Where how are you going to continue your goddamn narrative? So Yeah, if you get killed by like let's say you're very unlucky and you drown in the river. Like you do the obstacle, you fail horribly, and it turns into a conflict to save your life. And you fail it. Your character is dead, and you have to sit there for 2 hours. Because this game, according to the writer who made it, which isn't the comic book creator, by the way, I should keep that in mind, you're just stuck there because you can't do anything about it. This is one of the biggest reasons people leave fucking games. Because imagine, because this is the most cursed thing of all. This thing was clearly designed from the point of view of someone who's never played a game before. Because they go into heavy details about how to run a game, how players groups work. If something like this happened in your first game, odds are pretty good you'd never want to fucking show back up again. No, no, Squirrel Killer, if you wipe out a whole party, no, no. This is a single person in the patrol. This is like one or two people. This isn't a total party kill. This is losing a character, not a total wipe. So anyway, it just sucks. The character is removed from play permanently. After you've recovered from your loss, you have two options. You make a new character and rejoin the game in the next session, or offer to start a new mission as the GM. Because, that's an excellent system. Just have the player start the next mission as the GM. Sometimes the best way to work out your grief is to play opposition to the patrol for a while. No. No. Exactly. You roll a new character so that you're not focused on your rage. To give you an idea, it is, especially if you've never lost a character before, it is infuriating. And even people who have lost characters, sometimes they will need a couple minutes to cool down. And after that, it's best to just make the new character so you're not spent seething. I think I'll continue this Odyssey until 11 o'clock, so give me 29 minutes. I'm going to need a special brew for this one, especially since next week is going to be more of Infinite Worlds. Fucking shoot me. Spanish lady. All right. Now that I'm properly given thirst to cure my condition, let's continue the funeral of this book. Because, goddamn, I didn't expect it to fall apart like this. So, after you've recovered from your loss, you have a couple of options. Make a new character, which you should. Never have them run GM ship because, especially since they don't have your details. You're the GM. You didn't give them your details probably. But your patrol should hold a funeral for your mouse and say a few words. During the winter, there's also a ceremony at Lockhaven where the guard remembers all of them who gave their lives. Next winter in your game, you and your group should play that scene out. See losing a character in the mission for additional thoughts. Clearing up confusion. Sometimes when everyone's excited and shouting, it's hard to figure out what's going on. It's easy to get confused. If this happens, the GM should stop the action and ask everyone to be quiet. Go around we call this the talkie stick. Basically, if people start interrupting each other, your job as the GM should be to tell them to shut up and do the talkie stick. And this is why I'm infuriated, because little scenes like this, like on this page, not the beautiful art, I like that, but no, like the clearing up confusion. This is from either the point of view of someone who's never DM'd before and has learned about it, or someone who is very experienced with dealing with other players and who has DM'd for a long time, trying to explain it. And what they did was they tried to reinvent the wheel. That I am of the firm belief that this is more of an experienced person who has played tabletop games quite a bit, has DM'd quite a bit, and is trying to make it probably based on either the author himself of the books, or alternatively, this is something he came up with to make it friendly, allegedly, to new players. The problem is because they're so committed to making a novel system rather than just taking what works and working it into their own fit, they made a system that is poo. That is just complete fucking poo. So anyway, little talkie stick. Here it is, binding that rat mouse there. As for behind the scenes, this effect is generated through vivid description. So yeah, make sure that the characters are vibrant, memorable. Let's see. To alleviate the burdens of managing all the challenges the players will face, the GM has special rules for their characters unless faced with a healer test versus a test against a player unless they're in a conflict. They always succeed or fail at the GM's discretion. So here's the question: do you think this was made by for you that know the chat? Do you think this was a guy who GM'd for the first time, and this is him describing it to other newbie GMs? Or do you think this is a guy trying to make a very friendly to new players and GMs game? I don't know what those are. Oh, that's supposed to be his lamo. That's supposed to be his armor plates. No, those are armor plates. The black armor plates. See, it's supposed to be part of his design and ethos as the black axe. Wait, no, I think I know who this is. I'm not spoiling it. So then we get into the seasons. In retrospect, I think one of the problem is he tends to also repeat himself a lot. What if it's an alien describing how to GM? That'd be pretty fun. So seasons actually do determine quite a bit. Missions and seasons, season scale, this kind of determines how nasty things are. The length of each season is represented by a number of dots. Spring is 3, summer 4, fall 2, and winter 5. You play at season the variable number that's represented by that. The dots on the chart represent how many weather-based twists the GM can use before the season end, which I think is pretty stupid personally. Fall is worth 2 on this scale. In the course of play, you can invoke 2 weather-based twists before falls turn into winter. I don't know. I feel like that's really stupid because let's say you accidentally, let's say you're in a part of the Mouse Guard world and you're in an area that's really wild and the weather is unpredictable. You could have seasons rapidly shift based on that. Or let's say you're a GM that has a specific style that they like. For example, I'm guilty of using a lot of constructs. Let's say you're guilty of using inclement weather or environmental based hazards, right? You've accidentally hyper accelerated time. You think this was an experienced TTRPG watcher? That's possible. That is possible. Actually, the way he's trying to reinvent his own wheel, that might be. I'm thinking it's either it's an experienced one or one who basically wanted to reinvent the wheel. So some of the weathers you get, blah blah fucking blah. You can get stuff like unseasonably. Who cares? They tell you some of the animals that would be around the spring. Some of the stuff that you have to do. Mm, not the best bit of art in this page. It doesn't really feel like his at all. This one's not bad looking though. It actually kind of looks a bit off. So yeah, basically it gives you some details on traditions as well, like fall duty. I love this bit of art here though. I love this little harvest season thing here. Monstrosities and magical beasts. I'm a fan of undead constructs and aberrations myself. But they also go into festivals, and I think I'm really losing a lot of my drive to continue. My nature is going to zero. I might have to retire this book. Memorials, yeah, this is if they die. And the territories. You know what? I'm kind of rapidly losing my desire and drive to continue. So I'm going to skip the book. If you want to get a copy, feel free to. I'm going to instead look at some of these examples down here. These are mice of the territories. I'm not particularly interested in that. Where's the animals? I want to see them murder people. Wait, acting against your nature? What the fuck? Why is this all the way down here? You mention your nature so often. No. No, this is an entire system you should have had way earlier. What the fuck? What the fuck, dude? All your skills are down here too. Okay. With that in mind, I'm going to agree with you, Squirrel Killer. This is a guy who's probably not played as many games as he thinks he has, or alternatively, he's never seriously cracked open a book, and he was only given the play sheets when he played. Because these skills should have been way the fuck up higher in the book. And the combat system should have been further down in the book, which probably would have also helped a lot because I would have been a lot more interested. Ah, Lord. And look, you have all these skills and crap too. Blah. Look at all these jobs that you can have and traits. All this shit that should have been further up in the book. Fuck this. Where's my goddamn animals? I want to show off all the horrible monsters. No, I want the monsters, damn it. Give me the monsters. Where are they? No, they're not here. Where's the snake? Did I miss them? I will find the goddamn monsters. Here we go. Here we go. Before we leave, we're going to cover some of these monsters. So these are wild animals. Basically, Animal Natures gives them a nature rating. So things are bad, like badgers. They will devastate it. Bats, they're home to many types of bats. None of the creatures are directly harmful to mice. They're insectivores. Beavers are massive rodents with tails. They blah, blah, blah. Oh, the monsters are not even that interesting. Although here's a crab about to eat a mouse. There's a crow. You know, this is actually reminding me something that I think might be a thing that would have definitely helped maybe not mouse guard because it's all about like it's all about like adventure hooks and stuff. But unironically, I think this might have actually worked better as like a Redwall book. Well, yeah, because here's the silly thing. If you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you need to know how the game fucking works before you get into all the other stuff. So you would cover classes, skills, or in this case, wises, and so on. So that's why I'm really beginning to agree with you on the possibility this guy's actually never played one. And since the animal section is really disappointing, I think I'm just going to call it here. It's really, really fucking unfortunate. And also, because I feel like it, let me get my rum. There we go. I got my rum. Why is it all of the most tempting looking books just turn into disappointment and heartbreak? I mean, I'll give the RPG book this. It has a beautiful, a very lovely art set. I was looking forward to this one too, Squirrel Killer. I really hope they fixed a lot of this in second edition because there is a second edition. I can't really say personally I recommend Mouse Guard first edition at all. I recommend the comic books. I would also recommend Redwall if you've never read it. I haven't, but doing some initial research has reminded me I probably would really enjoy reading Redwall when I was younger, like a lot younger. Um, in terms of overall rating, covering Mouse Guard 2E, I think that would take I think that would take maybe a season for me to get over my sickened because this book made me sick. I need to also recover some nature, so since winter's like 5 dots, I don't know. Well, actually, it's technically fall. I think it might have to start back in spring, like how they do it. Overall, I'd rate the book. It's hard to say because I almost want to give it a decent because it has beautiful art assets. It also does kind of help if you've never actually DM'd before. It's like it really holds your hands. But on the other hand, I think that's some of the damage about that because since it constantly holds your hand as a GM and it just kind of inserts GM notes on how to do things like that, it it kind of becomes really formulaic. It has that same problem that remember when I remember the Border Princes book for Warhammer. It kind of has some of that problem. Squirrel Killer would rate it a trash fire. I would say mechanically. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna have to say trash fire. I'm changing my opinion on trash fire, and here's why. Because of you write your actions secretly on note cards before you reveal them. Which, by the way, can culminate in the patrol leader actually picking the funniest options, the funniest options, and then none of the players know that's what their players signed up for, and they lead them to a wild fucking death against a particularly angry pack of shrews. Because let me tell you, shrews will eat anything, including other shrews. So yeah, it's a beautiful trash fire. It has beautiful colors. It's like someone put some pyrotechnic displays in a dumpster. I I'm so sad because this book should have been better. Here's to since might as well do the tradition. Here lies the Mouse Guard RPG. It had so much inbuilt potential, a lovely world, a beautiful artist. Reached for the stars but fell to earth. And next week I'm going to have to do Infinite Worlds again. I'm probably going to take the week after that particular episode off. And also, no problem. I tend to prefer calling GMs game masters. Sometimes I'll use storyteller. Sometimes I'll use dungeon master. I don't like the gimmicks where you just GM standing for game mother, which was for the Alien RPG. I fucking hate that when they do that. So with that in mind, have a good week. Have a good opening start to your week. And I do, at the very least, seriously recommend getting the Mouse Guard comics. I think if you particularly like adventure works, it's well drawn. There's a poeticness to it. There's a vivaciousness to it. I will say you probably would enjoy it, especially if you kind of like those D&D books they made. It's kind of that same energy. So have an excellent night, everyone. We are definitely going to do more Infinite Worlds next week, so expect me to be far more fucking unhinged and insane. Much closer to the back half of this.